So, Man and Bernardo, I've noticed that y'all are like dressed in like this athletic wear. Like, what are y'all doing? I thought we were coming from a podcast, not to work out. Are y'all planning on working out afterwards, or?
Actually, we work out, and now, after lunch, we waited until about 1:30. Right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we work out, and after that, we kind of come here to get ready for the broadcast.
Nice.
For the show.
We were talking about that, in fact.
Really?
It was on purpose. I heard that it was going to be a fitness talk.
Right.
So we said, like, why not going like that?
Okay, sounds good. I'm just glad that y'all don't smell like I just worked out. And I'm glad that the listeners and viewers can't smell it either. We don't have that kind of technology.
Sorry for the sweat.
Yeah.
Well, it all surprised me. I found out that we were talking about sports and fitness right when I got here. So.
Well, you're the sports and fitness guy of the seminary. It feels like so. The most in shape. Yeah.
Maybe in the past.
David, wait, I heard that you're good at soccer, right?
I grew up playing a lot of soccer. I like soccer. I don't know about really good. Is all relative.
He's really good. He's just humble.
Okay.
What do you like more, David? Soccer or running?
Soccer. Running I just do to stay like fit. But soccer I like playing team sports.
Right. Yeah. And you run in soccer, so.
Yeah. Like I like ultimate frisbee also. It's a lot of running, but it's a team sport. It's fast paced. Kind of like reminds me of soccer in some ways.
Absolutely. Yeah. Frisbee. That's funny that you bring that up because I think in my time here at the seminary, I've been here 2 years. It's been kind of like, what sports should we play? And it always seems to be just the big three, right? Basketball, volleyball, and soccer. But this past year, we've had a couple guys that are like, well, what about frisbee? Like, let's play some frisbee. So we just go out on the field and toss the frisbee around, and then we tried making like ultimate frisbee teams, and oh my gosh, it's so much running. It's so much more than I expected.
It's a lot of running. Yeah, I remember when it was just me and a few other guys who are no longer here at Assumption we'd have to go out and pick up games in San Antonio because none of the other seminarians wanted to play. But now it sounds like I'll be able to play, with more of the guys.
Well, we kind of force a few guys into it, even if they're really bad. We just hope we don't get them on our team. That's the only thing, yeah.
So are we improving then?
Well, I haven't seen y'all play.
We might not be good, but we can try, right?
That's That's kind of harder to do with weightlifting, though, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of tough, but it's all about motivating yourself.
Right.
Like anything that you do is all about motivation. So you're determined, like, yes, I want to be in shape, or I want to lose weight, or I want to gain weight, or I want to gain muscle mass. It's all about you if you want to do it. If you're not motivated, then it's pretty no point of working out.
Absolutely.
So anything that you do in life, you have to put your 100% in it. So it's like working out, like Bernardo and I. So that's the thing I like to do. But the thing I like to do most is running. I love to run.
Oh.
So I did a lot of marathon already.
Really?
Tell them about your
I didn't know that.
next marathon.
Yes, I'm excited to announce to all the listeners, I'm doing the Houston half marathon. The shared one is a 50th year anniversary.
Wow.
So it's like a really big event. So I'm registered. It's gonna happen in January, the 15th, I think. I don't know the exact date, but somewhere in January.
Right.
But I'm thrilled and I'm excited. I know it's gonna be painful, but I'm training slowly for it.
Right.
With Bishop Gary too, right?
Whoa!
It is. He's in it. I know. You told me. Bernard told me. Did you guys heard about?
I heard.
Yeah, he runs.
For real? Like
I didn't know.
Yeah.
Bishop
I
Gary.
think he's going to
doing
run too.
For the
For that
Houston.
marathon,
Oh, I didn't know. I thought you were just joking.
No.
No, he actually's in it.
Yeah.
Oh, dang.
Wow, we need to ask him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to ask him to make sure. Just
Yeah.
don't say.
What does
Just
that
to make
take?
sure.
Like what does that take to train for a marathon?
Well, there's like a schedule that I usually go online and to look like for a half marathon. You need at least 6 months. Like they set a schedule for you for the whole month until that day come. So it's not that tough. But as the day progresses, it gets harder and harder.
Yeah.
And sometimes you get lazy. You have to run at least five times a week.
Yeah.
So, but they kind of divide out certain days for you. So it's like there's 7 days, so you have to run 5 times if you want to get ready. Because through running, you have to be careful with like the cramps too, and you have to hydrate yourself and do all that. And but in the same time, it's stressful, but it's fun. It's like when you do something, it's like your bucket list. You know, everyone has a bucket list. So it's just once you accomplish it, you just cross out the bucket list. Like yes, I did it. But at the same time, it's very rewarding. Like, because you set your goals that you really want to do it. At first, I didn't want to do it, to be honest, because I'm so tired because I did so much, and that's time when I run, my leg it gets so bad I can't even walk the next day.
Oh, that's
So-
dedication. Yeah.
After the half marathon.
Yeah, I have to have most of my half marathon. So I did a full one once, and after that I couldn't walk for a couple of days. Like, you know what? I gave up. No more doing the full marathon.
But, so
Oh my gosh.
for your training runs, do you usually go in the early morning to avoid the heat, or?
Yeah, usually like at 6 in the morning.
Oh my
Well, that's
gosh.
why I don't run.
Hey, some like marathon runners, they want like earlier than that, like around 5:30, like earlier than that.
I think that's when Bishop Gary goes out to run. Yeah,
Like
'cause-
5:30?
Yeah, I know a few other guys go out running like at 6,
And
and
does
then
that guy sleep?
I don't know. I don't know. It's hard at work helping us out, helping out the diocese. But yeah, a few guys will go out like at 6, and that's when they're like, oh yeah, I'm getting like a good head start on everybody else, and he's coming in, finishing like his run, and everyone's like,
Wow.
what the heck? Like, how does these man do it? Yeah, but that's
Here I am,
crazy.
like, oh, I'm the only seminarian up. I'm out going out running, and then he's coming back in.
Yeah, but I mean that just kind of goes to show like you were talking about like the dedication to have that persistence to go running, even if he's not as young as we are, and he still does it, and he's still in
Yeah.
great shape.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I feel like it's one of those things that it's definitely hard to get started. I think that helped me is that my family, we started doing it when we were younger, like just sports in general, and so it makes it easier. Kind of like learning to swim. If you're trying to learn to swim when you're older, it's a lot harder. But if you do it when you're younger, but I think once you can build the habit, and you can build a habit even if you start late. But once you build a habit, then it just kind of becomes something that you're used to doing. Like you're used to
Absolutely.
doing it, and so it's not so hard to like force yourself anymore. Because it's like,
Yeah.
well, I do this all the time.
Yeah, definitely. I think that was like the case for me growing up because I grew up with 3 older brothers, and then so that would always mean that no matter what sport we were playing, they had some kind of advantage because of they had either age on me, height on me, weight on me, or experience playing the game. So I was a kid like with the Xbox controller that wasn't connected, right? And so like I wouldn't actually be playing; it would just look like it. But I think it's definitely right that like if you start at a young age, like those skills like later on they pay off. Because like when I was a kid, I actually never played like organized soccer, even though I looked like a soccer player. And I love soccer now, but I played a lot of basketball as a kid. I was like in the basketball league that was there at my parish at St. Monica's. And then I stopped when I was like around 5th grade. But then as I got into like middle school and high school, I would see guys that would love basketball, talk about basketball all the time, but they couldn't play. I was like, what's going on there? Like, and I was like, oh, well, I just kind of picked it up now, like in middle school or in high school or later on. And so I see kind of like you said, like the benefits of like starting young, whereas starting later. And I'm noticing now like some of the guys here love tennis and they love going out to play tennis. I was like, I've never really played tennis, so I went out there. Oh my gosh, it was awful. It was so bad. I was like, what is going on? Like,
Yeah,
I
that's
expected
one of
it to be so easy. It's just like ping pong, just on a large scale, and that's
No,
it.
it's a
But
lot
you
of
prefer
technique.
soccer than basketball, right?
Oh yeah, now I do. Now I definitely prefer
So you like soccer more?
Oh,
Diego?
I love soccer, man. Not just like it. I love it. Yeah.
Man, I love soccer, mom.
Yeah.
I don't love soccer, man.
I'm wearing a soccer jersey right now. Yeah.
See, I like soccer too, but the way how you get like just watching you guys play,
Yeah.
it's just too much stress on the leg because you guys like full speed.
Yeah.
You know, compared to running, you do slowly, then keep up the
Pick it up,
pace.
Yeah.
That's why I like the consistency. Like soccer is always like fast paced, like
Well,
back and forth. Back
The
and
thing
forth.
about soccer is, as opposed to like running is like a continuous at a consistent pace,
Yeah.
Right.
usually.
Mhm.
And then like soccer, it's a lot of stop start.
Yeah.
Stop
Mhm.
start. So
Mhm.
you'll have a quick burst of speed, then you'll maybe be walking around for a
Yeah.
little bit, and then quick burst of speed.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And that's actually why I like soccer like more than running. Because like that's why I don't like to go on runs. I don't like because I get so bored because it's just like straight pass, especially like on a treadmill. I just can't do it.
Yeah.
But if it's like a game of soccer, I'll run until like I can't walk. And it's just
Wow.
like it's just going at it because it's like there's more to it than just like running. Like you're going after a ball or you're helping out a teammate, like going back on the field, going up on the field. There's so much to it. Can you tell that I like soccer?
So Bernardo, do you like any like team sports or mainly weightlifting? Or what's your favorite thing?
Well, that's a very good question, David. I don't want this to sound selfish, but I don't know why. But since I was a kid, like I used to do karate,
Oh.
and then like martial arts, like
Yeah.
Muay Thai, capoeira, then tennis and swimming. Like I've done a lot of things,
Wow.
but I don't know why. For some reason, I prefer like more, like for example, things such as the gym or
Mm.
or martial arts or something like that.
It's like individual type stuff.
Yeah, I don't know why, but
Maybe
It's good. You gotta.
maybe Bernard, you want to be like those both guys. Remember thinking like Arnold Schwarzenegger?
I don't
like
want to
that?
be like you, man.
No.
Mr. Universe.
No, because Bernard was showing me one of the priests from Father Cat, remember, on Instagram. I don't know his name. It's just,
Yeah,
oh my
from-
god, he's like, he reminds me of Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like, yeah.
I've seen those. It's kind of weird, but those priests that are like they kind of have like tailored like clothes,
Mhm.
and they're already jacked, and it just looks like they're about to burst their clothes. It looks kind of weird. It doesn't really look
Working out for
good.
the Lord. Gaining souls and getting gains. That's
Yeah.
it.
It's for me, it's just kind of funny how like if we can all relate to the priest, like every priest have different like, sport activities
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
to do, and the one priest that really motivated me to working out is one of the he's one of the Lafayette priests where he did a American Ninja.
Oh,
I was
what?
rooting for him. Yeah, he
Oh.
got it in. I was like, but it's kind of sad that he didn't make it. Like he didn't finish it, you know. So it sucks. But
Are you planning to do?
I wish I had that stamina like him, like the endurance. I don't think I can. He did a lot because he posted some video up on YouTube and Instagram, I think, and I was like, then when the day came for the American Ninja, everyone was rooting for him. Like,
Yeah.
come on! And all of a sudden, I think his hand got slippy or something. He fell down. And like, darn it.
It's all the holy water.
Yeah.
Now, David and Diego, I heard that you mentioned a little bit about liking or having preferences, right?
Right.
I think that's a very important point because if you ask people to do, I don't know, like a sport or a certain exercise which they don't enjoy, like
Yeah.
they are going sooner or later to stop doing it.
Mhm.
So I think that a very key point is that do something that you enjoy. and that you
Right.
like, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely, and I think that's interesting that you mention it, because there's like enjoying it and being good at it, and there's a difference. And I think especially of a few professional soccer players that are a little bit famous, and they're also kind of infamous for being like they're really good at soccer, they're like amazing, but they don't like soccer and they prefer other sports, and it's weird, right?
Yeah.
Because they're at the top level, they're at the top of their game, and they're just like I prefer like playing basketball. Like I can think right now of a player named Carlos Vela, who's a Mexican player, but he prefers basketball. He'd much rather be doing that. There's a player from Wales. His name is Gareth Bale. He loves golf.
Really?
Yeah, there was
I didn't know
rumors.
that.
There's rumors this year that he was just gonna retire like mid-career and just be like, I'm just gonna go play golf. Yeah, and it's incredible because they're so good at their sport. They're so good at their craft, but they don't get the most amount of enjoyment from that sport in particular. They prefer like they would much rather like if they had a free day and something like that, they wouldn't be like juggling the ball, kicking around. Like they would much rather do something else, which is interesting that you bring that up, because it's not always the case that like, oh, I'm really good at this sport, but I also don't like doing it. It's usually, it seems like they always go in hand. And I've noticed that with a few guys here too, like that play soccer with us. Like some of them are just really good, naturally talented, but they'd much rather be playing tennis, or they'd much rather just go swimming or whatever it is. I'm just like, what? Like we need you on the team. Why are you swimming? Like come back.
And sometimes it can be from like outside influences.
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking when you were saying all those examples, I was thinking of Andre Agassi. So he's a tennis player who was like in the '90s, more big in the when I was growing up, and I was still pretty young. But I think his dad really pushed him in tennis, and it's not maybe he did like tennis, but I think his dad was overly emphasizing like tennis, and you're not good enough. Like
Right.
I think even one time he got to the majors and he won like one of the major opens, one of the major tournaments, and his dad was like, "Why did you drop a set in that final?" And like so, I think it ended up weighing on him so much that he didn't like tennis.
Right.
Which I think it's kind of a hard balance because I know my dad pushed us, me and my brothers when we were young, and sometimes we didn't like that. I remember times where he'd be like, okay, get out of the car and run home from here.
Wow.
or something like that. But, or like kind of after soccer games, I'd be crying in the car because I'm like, Dad, I don't know why. Because he's like, you were running around like a chicken with your head cut off out there. Something like that. But I think it's a balance. I think I knew at the end of the day, he made it clear that, he loved us.
Right.
And he wanted to help us get better. And it wasn't all about like, just him living vicariously through us or something.
Absolutely, and I think that brings up a good point. This idea that especially in our lives as seminarians and, God willing, in the future priests. I think it's important for us to understand like the right role that sports and fitness has in our lives, how it's important for us in our faith, and how we shouldn't either undervalue it or overvalue it, right? Because like I could train here in the seminary and like run around and get fit and stuff like that, but I know that God is calling me to be a priest. So I shouldn't be training as if I'm going to be a professional soccer player. But at the same time, if God is calling me to be a priest and to be there for my flock and be there for the parish and other people, then I need to be in good enough shape that I can help them. And so that's something that I think helps me out here when I'm just like on those lazy days and I'm just like, I really don't want to go and play some sports or something like that. I'm like, no, like I need to maintain myself, right? And I think it ties into this idea of how our body, mind, and spirit are all connected, and how like we need to maintain all of those aspects. And I think in another podcast we talked about like all the aspects of our formation and how there's different pillars and they need to be kind of balanced. And I think it's the same thing with this, like with sports and academics and all that stuff.
Now, I was thinking about a possible question that I was going to ask you. What would you say to someone that doesn't like sports at all or exercising?
Anything.
Right.
Because I mean, not everyone likes sports or exercising. So I think that's a more difficult situation in that sense, right? Or what would you suggest?
That's a good question.
To those people? Or?
Honestly, I would encourage them to, I think you're right. Like, if you keep doing something you don't like, you're just gonna kind of lose the joy out of it. But I think I would encourage them to be open to experiencing something again. Maybe they had a bad initial impression, so don't rule something out right away. But I would say that you don't have to be like a really good at sports, or like an exercise guru. But I think there's good example from just someone who's minds what they're eating, wants to stay healthy. So like Diego said, especially for our vocation, so that we can be better servants of the people of God. So, staying fit, at least by walking, staying active in some way. I think there should be some kind of activity that we're doing for, a certain, maybe 30 minutes a day. Whether it's just walking or, you could do like some kind of calisthenics, just mobility exercises. I think all that's really important because it's going to help you be able to serve better and serve longer, I think.
Right.
Yeah. Like just simple things, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, like I can say, Edgar, our brother, right? Edgar Hernandez, I think.
Yeah.
He never went to the gym. I've been trying to convince him, like every single time since when we were in the Summit house together. I keep ask him, let's go to the gym. It's like, no, I'm so busy, I have to study. I was like, Edgar, you have that everything, but what about your human pillar? You have all that, because how like seminary, like we have 4 pillars, and the human pillar is how we self-care for ourselves, and self-care is very important for us too. To like Diego said, like our mind, body, and spirit it's good for us to have some kind of activities to kind of help us, like help us be more balanced. If we will, God's willing, ordain us to the priest of the Archdiocese San Antonio, so we can be more balanced and being able to minister to our parishioners. So I have to give a lot of credit to Edgar. You kind of like you plant the seed in them slowly, and you always make up excuses. Like in your mind, you want to go or you not want to go.
And now he's the one inviting you, right?
Yeah, now he's the one inviting me. Nice. And it's so funny. For the past 2 days,
great.
We went walking, right? 2 days, we went walking. All of a sudden, every time when we started walking last night, it started raining. We walked in the rain.
It's a sign.
I told Edgar, why is it always when I walk with you when it rains, but when I walk by myself, it's always sunny?
Yeah.
It's so funny.
It's
I don't get it. It's just so weird. Like I told him, you are just one of my, like, call it my I don't know what you call it, voodoo or bad luck or what you want to call it. I'm like, this never happened to me. Maybe it might be a sign, like.
Right. But it's good that like we kind of get encouragement from each other. I know that Guillermo and Rafa were the ones that got me into tennis, and that was mainly because like it's harder to get soccer going because you usually need a decent amount of guys doing it, but tennis it's a one-on-one type thing. She's like, oh, we always go. Like, if you want to join us. I was like, oh, yeah, that's great. And even if it's kind of silly stuff, like silly kind of encouragement, like Guillermo and myself have a bet going right now of like losing weight. And I think it's more about just getting in shape, getting fit. But we added like steaks to it, right?
Yeah.
And so not EAKS, like steaks, like edible steaks, but yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
High stakes.
Yeah, high stakes, yeah. And so the idea is that whoever loses the most body weight percentage at after a certain amount of time, we had to buy the other person like their favorite jersey or something like that.
Nice.
And so in our case, we go for rival teams. So I go for Barcelona and he goes for Real Madrid. And so it would be like heartbreaking for me to buy a Real Madrid jersey and then have to give it to him. And I'm just like, oh, just the thought of that like makes me want to go and work out and like work at it. And I'm sure the same thing for him. He's just like, no, I'm not gonna. And I think he also kind of doesn't like spending his money either. So that's a little bit more encouragement for him too.
So we will see who wins.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll have a way off and we'll make it live.
So,
No, I'm just kidding.
so when is the deadline for that?
So that'll be in a few months, I think. Yeah, I don't want to say the exact date because I don't know when this is gonna air. But
But to circle back to your question, Bernardo, I think that if someone doesn't like sports or exercise, I would encourage them to still find some way to be
Right.
active, because I think it's important for our spiritual life in a certain sense, because we are body and soul. And so I think even St. Paul talks about, like, he makes analogies to the spiritual life with athletes and how athletes are training. Like, he says athletes train to win a crown, and we are training, we're running a race. He talks about the spiritual life as a race. And so so it's something that it's very analogous, and he talks about we have to discipline our bodies. Athletes, and that was the thing. There's always times where you could, be excessive in one thing, excessive in training and focusing on your body, but you can also be not enough and neglecting your body. Same thing. So that's why I think it's important analogy for our spiritual life. Like, the Lord wants us to be disciplining our bodies because it helps us teach us how to discipline our spirit as well, and to learn how to be, men of prayer, which is also requires spiritual effort.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, actually talking about advantages of being active, because one thing is being active, and one thing is to do a certain sport or exercise or anything, right? So the main point is to stay active, and whether it's in a certain sport or by doing certain activities. Because I just remember that my grandfather, for example, had the option to use the elevator or the stairs. So just a simple thing like that, it can make a difference in the long term.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the beautiful thing about it, the more I learn about God, the more I learn about like the spiritual aspect of it, it nourishes like what my understanding of like the human aspect of it. So like you said, like, you need to stay active, but you need to find maybe what sport or fitness activity you like. And to me, that makes me think of like people's different spiritualities, right? And so we still want to be active in our spiritual life, but everyone's spirituality is going to be different, right? And we come to know God in our own individual way, and He's made us in our own unique way as well. And so that's something that we need to discover in the same way that like sports, like we need to stay active, we need to take care of our body, but we each do it in the way that God is like mandated for us. And that's something that the more I like reflect on that and then think about how much I like soccer and stuff like that, there's so many things that tie together, which makes me fall in love with both of them so much more. Like I can draw analogies on why it's important, like for instance in soccer, to be like an efficient passer or a good passer, or to pass at all, like in a soccer game, in the same way that it's good to have good relationships with people, to have a good relationship with God, to like allow others to have the spotlight at times, like in the same way that like in soccer, when you pass the ball, sometimes like, oh, I could have made that shot, but maybe the person next to me had a better shot, right? And so passing the ball and giving the opportunity for the greater good, which I think really ties into like what we believe as Catholics, as Christians, that we should be oftentimes neglecting our own good that's selfish for a greater good. And so just those themes always pop around in my mind and stuff like that. And so I really think both of them are mutually helping out my understanding and my development as a human.
Actually, David, you reminded me of something. I was thinking also in the spiritual aspect, and I was thinking, for example, if you take Jesus, this maybe sound like a little bit not important or something like that, but like the scripture says that he went up to the mountain, right? Like a lot of times.
Yeah.
So I mean,
good hiker.
That is something that he used to walk a lot and climb a lot.
And probably incorporated his prayer as a part of that journey too, right? Like, yeah, I agree.
And that makes me think about a lot of the priests here in San Antonio, and a few shout outs if y'all don't mind. I think of my pastor at St. Monica's, Father Tuma, and after every mass or whenever he gets a chance, we just see him like walking around the parking lot, and we're like, well, that's interesting. And then he would do that as soon as he got there, and then people would ask him, oh, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm just staying active. And then sometimes he'll pray, or sometimes he'll ask people to come and walk with him, and then they can have a conversation, or like if they had a meeting, they would just walk and do the meeting walking. I know Father John Clock, who is at St. Anthony Mary Claret. He's a professor at Mock as well, so a lot of us know him. He was telling us that like he runs 5 miles a day, and he used to be a professional soccer player in Poland. And it's like it blows my mind to have these great examples in the archdiocese that even in their older age, they continue to persevere and reach that goal in their spiritual life and in their physical life as well.
Yeah, like when you mentioned that, Diego, it reminded me of Father Juan.
Yeah.
I always see him walking around here. He always telling me about he has to get at least 10,000 a day.
The steps.
Yeah,
that sounds like our cameraman Moses.
Yeah, so we always every time I see him it was 2 days ago. He was walking. He couldn't walk, so it was raining. So he had to stop. So he decided to I don't know how he but he somehow I think he did get his 10,000 steps. That's what's his goal all the time,
right?
Like every day. So like seeing him, I was like, wow, like he's very determined. You know, like. He's like, I know he's a man of God, but he's always determined to get his physical body in shape at the same time, being able to minister to his students, to parishioners. Like he does all this like things that he does. Like wow, I'm like, do you ever get tired? Say no. He seems very energetic, you know. And you see Father Juan, so I was like, wow, maybe I'll be like you one day. Hopefully, I don't stop.
Yeah, and I think like sports and fitness, exercise, it's a good point of contact with people who, you know, may not be very strong in their faith, especially young people, but because a lot of young people do see the importance of like health and fitness, but maybe they're not so strong in their faith, or maybe they don't even believe.
Right.
But like I remember at West Point when I was in college, there would be guys who like they were religious about going to the gym. They're like, yeah, did you go to the and they would even talk to each other. Did you go to the Iron Temple today? And stuff like that. And I'm thinking, well, yeah, like if we could just translate that same desire for their physical well-being to also to be about their soul and about the kingdom of God. And I think something that helped me too, going back to what you mentioned earlier, Diego, about how we keep it in the right balance and not be over focused on like, okay, I've got to focus on myself. I know I sometimes do like worry too much about how have I worked out enough, but I think I try to like pray at the beginning, if I can, of like a workout, saying like, Lord, help me to do this for the right reason,
right? Like
so I can better serve and be able to serve the people of God.
Right.
And also I think my old spiritual director, Father Vincent, God rest his soul, he had told me something too about I wouldn't spend like more time working out than someone like who'd be your equivalent in like the laity, like for example, like a young father in a family. Like if he can only spend X amount of time a day working out, that's probably where you should be spending.
Right.
And that was helpful for me.
Yeah.
And also,
nice.
the one thing that really amazes me about sports, like all sports, like especially in the Olympic, the people, you know, some of the runners, soccers, basketball, they always make that sign of the cross.
Yeah.
Especially for swimming, you know. It's like when I watched that, I was like, wow, like they do, even though they don't talk about God, but they do find a way to show that yes, I do believe in God.
Absolutely.
So it's like it's a sign of their spirituality. Like the public sees, they pick them as, oh yeah, this is a professional player. Like they this is what they're good at. But in actuality, they do have their spiritual life that they don't show. Like they're religious, you know, what they believe in. So I kind of, it's like the public kind of misleading.
Yeah.
But when we watch it, we see like, oh yes, this is the Nickel sign of the cross. Like you know, as we can see, like yes, we trust in God in this process. Like like you say, into your hands I commend my spirit.
Yeah.
So whatever happened, let it happen. So,
and it's a reflection that what we've been given a gift like of our bodies, and so it's not really all coming from ourselves.
Yeah.
It's like it's a gift every day that we can be able to use our bodies. And so I like that quote from St. Paul, like why do you boast if why do you boast as if you came from yourself, you received it,
Absolutely.
Now talking about that, for example, just to try to finish, like for example regarding the human aspect, like if you ask yourself and see, okay, what do I need, or what do you need in order to exercise or to be staying active and all that? Actually, it requires things such as consistency, perseverance, effort. So you start seeing all these virtues in which you can grow.
Right.
Yes.
And if you see the benefits, not only physical, but like for example, I don't know if you have noticed, but in the case of going to the gym, like sometimes you just go even if you don't have the energy to go. So that talks about consistency again, and perseverance and all those things in which you can grow by just forcing yourself to grow.
It's like overcoming like our natural inclination to just be lazy sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which happens in prayer too, right?
Yeah, and I like how you bring up the virtues, because I'm going through them in my head. I'm thinking like, how can I be humble when I'm like playing sports? And it's like, well, like one way would be like in the example I gave, like passing, and thinking like, oh, maybe I can't make the shot, but I know that they can do better than me. Or even like being like charitable, being loving during like sports, or even towards yourself. Like if you're lifting weights, you want to push yourself like crazy, like you should know your limits, and that's also loving yourself and loving your own body. And I think it's great that the era that we live in now, where we have access to like YouTube, we have access to all these sources that allow us to learn more about our bodies, learn more about our faith, and incorporate them all together. And it's not like these distant things, right? And so I think it's important for us as seminarians to set that example for the people of God, and also, God willing, if we're going to be priests and shepherds of these people, that we live that example in our physical and spiritual life as well. And so we'd like to invite everybody watching or listening to like, subscribe, and keep up with your fitness routines. Play some sports. If you'd like to see us playing sports, let us know in the comments what you'd like to see. I know that there's a few other things that we're like planning on organizing, so hopefully you get to see that soon, or at least listen to it. And we hope to see you guys around. All right, peace.